How you feel about her?
She's a piece of shit. I was in California. She lacked professional competence, and she worked on it by hiking up her hemline when she needed influence rather than researching.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Conservative Core, where our goal is to shine a light on the ridiculousness of the left. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, notification button, and like button. In this video, we're going to break down Judge Joe Brown and his thoughts on Kamala Harris. Now, I don't know if this is something that happens when you get older, or if he simply does not care what anyone thinks. He seems to speak his mind without concern for what others think. And what I really love about Judge Joe Brown is he tells the truth and backs up his statements with thorough research. When he makes bold and sometimes controversial statements to some people, they're based on careful thought and evidence. Judge Joe Brown discussed various topics, including his opinions on Kamala Harris. He made it clear that he doesn't shy away from speaking his mind about her character. It's worth noting because while many focus on Donald Trump's controversies, such as accusations against him, Judge Joe Brown suggests we also consider Kamala Harris's background, as she may not be as upstanding as some believe. Let's run the clip.
But I gotta ask you about Kamala Harris. How you feel about her?
She's a piece of shit. I was in California. She lacked professional competence, and she worked on it by hiking up her hemline when she needed influence rather than researching. I was out in California for 15 years doing my show when she was at her peak, and she had a reputation amongst the trial lawyers of being lazy. She just hike her skirt up and try to flirt, and she wasn't that good in the courtroom, if not pretty bad in the courtroom. So I'm not surprised at what she does. She's 60 years old, and I think listening to her word salad and the way she talks, I think she's got early onset dementia and also some problems with menopausal complications. That's that, you see, today is going to be tomorrow, so since it's going to be tomorrow, today we have tomorrow, which is why we are now. Like, what did you say? They have something in mind, but they cannot cognate getting all the way through it, which is why she's famous for this word salad garbage, and she doesn't make a bit of sense. I think since she's only 60, she's actually on a worse track than Biden was. Biden is 20-some years older than her, and he has been senile for a long time.
Well dang, Judge Joe Brown from the top rope. Judge Joe Brown spent a lot of time in California, where Kamala is from, but the word salad part is really spot on. I mean, just take a listen.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you would prevent the new spending and your Build Back Better agenda from exacerbating the problem? And also, what else are you going to do to fix this problem with inflation?
All right, thank you. Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up, and families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up.
Yep, a whole lot of nothing. It's clear she doesn't have a grasp on the situation or any real solutions. She can talk about prices going up all she wants, but without addressing the core issues like excessive government spending, she's just spinning her wheels. The truth is, she can't come out against the progressive agenda because she's too wrapped up in it. And there are countless clips just like this of her. This is probably why the Democrats are taking the Joe Biden approach and hiding her away from the public. It has been about 2 weeks now, and she has yet to answer literally any questions about her policies, what she stands on, and what she wants to do if elected. Now we have a good idea that she wants to keep the border open and let millions of illegals in, then give them our hard-earned tax money and let them vote in the next election races. Now, the more Judge Joe Brown talks about Harris, the more sense he really makes. Her infamous word salad moments are more than just awkward, they're concerning. If she can't articulate a coherent thought, what does that say about her capabilities?
You know, Xi Jinping, is he supposed to be impressed? She's doing word salad. Well, we're here today because China and the U.S. are here today, and that's why we have to agree on what we're doing here today. Like, fool, what did you just say? You know, did you say anything? And I've never seen such a salacious mess as I've seen out of her.
Judge Joe Brown is absolutely right. How are we supposed to present ourselves on the world stage when we've got someone like Kamala Harris fumbling through her words? It's embarrassing. We're dealing with serious global players like Xi Jinping, who must be wondering if there's anyone competent left in American leadership. Harris's infamous word salad moments don't inspire confidence. They're a joke. When she says things like, we're here today because China and the US are here today, it's like, what are you even talking about? It's nonsensical. It's not just a gaffe, it's a complete failure to communicate anything meaningful. Meanwhile, other countries are watching this mess unfold and questioning America's strength and leadership. It's a salacious disaster that reflects poorly on us all. At this rate, how can we expect to negotiate, strategize, or even have a basic conversation with world leaders when our representatives can't even articulate a clear thought? This is a serious issue, and it's making us look weak on the global stage. But what Judge says next is actually insane and really interesting. Take a listen.
I think of One West Bank. I had some pretty good properties out in California at one point in time. And I know I had 3 neighbors who had good properties. It was in a place called Ojai, California. And they got caught up about 15, 16 years ago, like a lot of people did, in that mortgage bundling scam stuff that was going on. And there was a bank called One West Bank responsible for it, which was owned by George Soros. The Mnuchin that you have out of the Obama administration was Mnuchin, who was the CEO of One West Bank. Well, there were approximately 1,200 counts of indictments returned against Mnuchin and One West Bank in various counties in California. Well, Mnuchin and Soros financed and arranged and sponsored Kamala to run for Attorney General of California. They got her elected. She got in, and using the authority she had, she promptly consolidated all 5,200 counts and dismissed them. And a couple of weeks later, Soros sold One West Bank for $4.2 billion. So after that, they got together and got her finance and got everything organized and made the connections for her, and she got elected to U.S. Senator. Willie Brown made the initial contacts and arrangements so she could get elected as district attorney for San Francisco. She didn't do a very good job. She had a reputation for giving out the stiffest sentences in the United States of America for simple possession of marijuana in San Francisco, for God's sakes. But it was only to young black men. She's not a parent, never had any children, but she went off on this campaign to lock parents up, some of whom actually were shown to have dropped their children off at the school, but they played hooky, so she was putting them in jail.
Wow, that story about One West Bank and George Soros is fascinating. We all know where he stands when it comes to Trump and what policies he supports. The story sounds like a typical political rise, and her connections to One West Bank is a textbook case of how elite interests can corrupt the justice system and manipulate political outcomes. Let's unpack this scandalous narrative. So One West Bank, under Stephen Mnuchin's leadership and backed by George Soros, was running some shady practices, so Soros helps Harris climb the political ladder by funding her run for Attorney General of California. She gets hired, and miraculously, once she was in office, all 5,200 indictments were consolidated and dismissed. Coincidence? Hardly. She still also has yet to give an answer as to why she didn't prosecute anyone here. And then shortly after Harris's intervention, Soros sells One West Bank for a whopping $4.2 billion. It's almost as if Harris's role was a precondition for Soros's exit strategy. This kind of favoritism isn't just troubling, it's the swamp at its finest. And now this next clip here, this one is really going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. Let's cut through the noise here.
And she was everybody's favorite Hindu Indian prosecutor and attorney general and senator, and now she becomes black. But, you know, I met her daddy, fine gentleman, Professor Harris. And the problem with her being black is Professor Harris says he's Caucasian, mixed Irish and Hindu. He doesn't have any black ancestors, but his Irish ancestors owned a lot of slaves in Jamaica and had them to work on plantation. So if mama is on the birth certificate listed as a Caucasian, daddy says he's a Caucasian Hindu and has no black ancestors, how did she get to be black?
The situation with Kamala Harris's racial identity is a glaring example of political manipulation. It's become a running theme. Kamala Harris is only identified as black when it serves a specific political narrative. When convenient, Harris's racial identity is highlighted to fit certain agendas. But when the focus shifts to her track record or policies, suddenly her racial background is overlooked. This selective recognition of her identity raises serious questions about the authenticity of how her racial background is used in politics. Let's be honest, Harris's claims of racial identity seem to shift depending on the situation. Her father, who identifies as a Caucasian Hindu, and her background often gets sidelined when it's beneficial to focus on her as a black leader. This is pretty much just like when Sleepy Joe said this.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It's problematic when someone's racial identity is only acknowledged in ways that serve a specific political purpose. It's a tactic that undermines genuine conversations about race and identity by turning them into mere instruments for political gain. I just hope more people can see these dirty tricks the Democrats are playing and they wake up. Well, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like this video for more conservative news daily. Also, what part was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. See you in the next one.